Welcome to Mastering Modern Midlife. I'm Catherine Grace O'Connell, and this show is powered by the Forever Fierce Revolution. Speaking of Forever Fierce, I am so delighted to introduce my guest today. Kristen Coffield is an author, an educator, and a culinary disruptor. She is also the founder of the Culinary Cure, an amazing, revolutionary, like you said, disruptive mission that you have to help us really age in a very positive, beautiful, longevity way.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And this is so much fun to actually meet you in person and
off the virtual world.
Off the virtual world. This is how connections work, and it's really exciting. Author, educator, and culinary disruptor. And I think it's important to share with people the power that food has to make their lives better, fuel their dreams, and give them the tools to live really the way they want to live. Give them back some control.
You are an amazing example. I mean, clearly, looking at you, you are in your 60s, correct?
I'm 60. I just turned 60.
Just turned 60s, but that you are in your 60s, and you look like, I mean, you have the vibrancy and the youthful energy of someone, decades younger.
Thank you. Thank you.
Clearly, that's attributed to all the amazing things you're going to be sharing on the show today.
Yeah, well, I went through a period of my life. There was really about a 15-year period, and it started slowly, and I still had kids at home, and life just kind of started to unwind for me a little bit, and there were some telltale signs that things could get complicated. But I think when you're in it, when you're raising your kids and you're wrapped up in your community and you're kind of living this life, you always almost imagined this is what my life will be like. You don't really pay attention to those things because you're so caught up in the doing, the everyday doing. And there were just a series of, we were having some financial things, some business things that were exciting and had the potential to be great, but I was raising 3 kids, and I had sold my business. I had a catering company. I catered congressional fundraisers in Washington, D.C. for 10 years, and all of a sudden I had these 3 kids at home, and they were in 3 different schools, and they were all doing sports and after-school activities, and that really had to become the focus of my life.
Focus.
And my husband was an attorney, and he was working all the time. So, somebody's got to raise these kids, That's why we had them. And what happened was that became my identity. And then
being a mother.
Being a mom and being like...
A perfect mom.
A perfect mom, and the Martha Stewart and the entertaining, like on these great, theme parties, and being there for all my kids, anything my kids were doing, I was, 100% behind them and fueling that, putting all this energy into raising the best humans that we could. And then my mom's cancer came back, and that became a journey that was very difficult for my whole family.
From what I read, you and your mother were very close.
I was very close with my mom. She was a single mom for a number of years, so my sister and my mom and I were our own little fierce tribe, if you will. And
she was a powerful role model in your life. When I read about her and how she, in the 60s, had her own business, I mean, that is remarkable for, 40 years or something?
Yeah, and first of all, being divorced at that time was not really acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's very beautiful. So she's divorced, she's single, she's got these 2 little girls, and she picks this small town, and she's got a shop so that she can be near us. And she was really incredible, and she gave me a great work ethic and a lot of creativity. But
when she left, obviously there was, a massive void.
Yeah, losing your mom is tough stuff.
And then your father.
And then my dad, and that's a complicated scenario because my parents were divorced, and my dad had a second family, so I'm the oldest of 4, and my dad had Alzheimer's. So my mom had cancer, my dad had Alzheimer's, and going through that process is... I know lots of people struggle with family members. This is a disease that is really devastating to an entire family. And so my dad had Alzheimer's. The last kid goes off to college. There's financial trouble. My dad dies. I'm diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And it's kind of like the wheels just came off the bus.
Yeah, your whole world fell apart at once. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, can we take you back to
Sure.
that moment when your world is falling apart. The rug has been ripped out from under you on every level. Your mother, your father, your health, your marriage, financial stress, and now an empty nest.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that time and let me know right now, let our audience know, this was a huge phoenix rising, a process of a phoenix rising where everything is collapsing, but look at you now, the ultimate story of resilience.
When you're in it, I'm just here to say, when you're in it, all your energy goes to getting through each day. And you wake up and your first thought is, I can't wait to go back to bed. How am I going to get through this day, right?
You write something on here which I thought was really powerful. You talk about, see if I can find it, where you talk about the impending doom and how you really were just, I don't know if I can find it at the moment, but it was really powerful what you wrote about. And I think so many of us, I know, I was going through the daily motions of a normal life, but inside I was in constant turmoil. Every morning my waking thought was, I can't wait to get through this day so I can go back to sleep. But restful sleep had deserted me. Nights were a tormented, fretful struggle with my anxious and overactive mind, leaving me exhausted and spent. This couldn't possibly be my new normal. There was no way I could live like this for the rest of my life, much less one more day.
And one day, I literally woke up and I was like, okay, we're done. We're not doing this anymore because this is going to kill me. And so much in my life was out of my control. Mm-hmm. I couldn't control the finances. I couldn't control a lot of the emotional turmoil that was around me. But there was one thing I could control, and that's what was on the end of my fork. And so that's where I started. And food had always been a tool for me. I had used food to create a business. I had used food to feed my family. I had used food as showing people how much I love them. You know, if you're sick, I'm going to bring you a meal. Let me bring you a dessert. Let me help with that. Food to me is such a part of life. And food had lost its value for me. And I don't know why. I just had stopped paying attention to food and the tool food could be. So when everything else was out of my control, I could still control what was on the end of my fork.
So you were creating a new relationship with yourself, with food, and then began using it as food as medicine.
Exactly.
And look at you today.
So I could use this, and this is what happens. Once you start eating better, and once you start using food to fuel you and nurture you and give you more energy and better sleep and help you manage your stress, because food can go either way. It can add to inflammation, it can create more stress, it can make you feel horrible. So once you start using food as a tool and you start nourishing yourself again, guess what? You have more energy, you have a clearer mind, your sleep is better. And that creates more bandwidth for you to bring other things into your life and take control of other areas. So I'm waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning. I can lie in bed and not be having great sleep, or I can get my fanny to the gym and start working out.
You wake up at like 4:15 in the morning. Is that right?
I do.
Did I see that one of your videos? Okay, that's impressive.
I do. But I look at it this way. I feel like I lost a decade of my life. And I have a friend who always says, you can sleep when you're dead. I can get up and embrace each day and jump in with both feet and do all these things before 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Or I can just lie in my bed
Well, you have a lot of energy now, and I would imagine before, when you're in that storm, that dark night of the soul, there is very little energy to do anything. So can you take us back to that moment when you made that decision? Do you remember making that internal decision?
Well, it was one of those aha moments where I'd been laying blame on all the circumstances that were out of my control, and I realized, it's like Dorothy, in The Wizard of Oz, you're like, wait a minute.
Power's right here. Click my heels.
Yeah. And it just changed everything. And I had gone from being a very decisive woman. I was that woman that you would always be like, oh, ask her to do it. Ask Kristen. And I was always doing a million things, and I always had all the answers. And I'd become this person I barely recognized. And once I flipped that switch, everything changed.
It's fascinating. I hear story after story. Obviously, that's what I get the opportunity to interview amazing women, and particularly at Midlife. It's my story, it's your story, and like I said, I think it's a pretty universal story, because I also think as a woman, and as a woman who's a mother, we are culturally taught to focus outward. And then that empty nest comes, then the nest is empty, and we want to fill it, but we don't necessarily fill it out here. It gives us an opportunity now to turn within and start connecting, reconnecting, and potentially discovering a whole new person.
I love the way you say that, and those are the words sometimes we can't find. We don't know why we're doing something. We just need to change something and make it comfortable again, because life can get so uncomfortable. It's like you're not in your own skin, and you're having conversations with people, and there's something else going on inside of you, and you're like, gosh, I hope I look normal, because I'm feeling all this anxiety and stress. And when you let go of that need to be who you thought you were supposed to be, and you become this person that was always there, but you kind of pushed to the side.
Exactly. So you, like you said, you didn't even really know who you were anymore. And I do believe that, again, is a very universal story, particularly for moms who have raised their children, put their, full force identity into that, and then the children are gone and they have no idea who they are. But there's such a gift in that. Except that I remember that very point when, my children left and I was a puddle. I remember not going into my daughter's room for an entire month. I was in severe mourning, but it was a mourning losing who I thought I was, but not necessarily who I truly was. It's fascinating then to come on the other side and go, whoa, there's a whole nother being in there, like waiting to meet you. And it's pretty cool. So let's talk about resilience.
I love that word. I also use the phrase culinary resilience. And I think being resilient is the ultimate pivot. It means that all the stuff I had been through, for me personally, my journey, it kind of like gave me this armor, this thicker skin, this willingness to take some more risks. Because if all this other stuff didn't take me down, wait, maybe there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm not trying to do that I should be.
Well, I think that's the beauty of midlife, because that's the wisdom part, right? When you're on the other side of major adversity, major obstacles, when something else comes, it may push you down a little bit, but you can not only rise from it, you can get on the other side and look back and go, oh,
right.
Again, I'm learning more about myself every time.
And these are all tools, when you start looking at things like food and resilience and mindset and creating this sort of strength, resilience as a form of strength, and having control, I think that's a really key part of all of this for women, is realizing how much control we do have over our destiny, whether it's our wellness destiny or our happiness destiny or our career destiny, and just kind of take the lid off the box and see what's in there that you might
surprise box.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah, I know. Wow, I'm going to unpack this quality and this quality. I had no idea that's who I am. And it's amazing. So when I think about resilience, I think about bouncing back, and we can't bounce back unless we've fallen, right?
Right.
And every time we fall, we have an opportunity, I think, to bounce higher.
Well, but it also, once you've done that a couple of times, you're like, I'm at the low part.
I got it.
I'm going back up. Right? I got this thing. And it's okay. You know, none of these things that I thought were going to kind of be the end of, you know, days. You know, this is so awful. You know, my life is so desperate. And, you know, look at me now. You know, like, I weathered the storm. You weathered the storm. Thousands of women weather the storm of everyday life. Life is a tough sport. And the more resilient you are, the less some of that stuff takes you down. It's just like, oh, wait, can I step on that and get to the next place?
And that you have. So I love you use language in a really interesting way on your blog, on your, you know, Instagram and social media posts. You are a culinary disruptor. You are also a kitchen interventionist, I think a life interventionist. So let's talk a little bit about that, because your philosophy is very holistic. It isn't just honestly what we put in our mouths. It's everything.
Yeah. So when everything feels out of control and you start to take back control, you look at all the spaces in your life, mentally, physically, emotionally. And for me, the power of food is so undervalued, but it's not just the food, it's the conditions of life around the food. And this is where the kitchen intervention came from. You can be trying to use food as a tool, but if you haven't created the right kitchen, it makes that shopping, cooking, and eating part really hard. So we have this knowledge in our heads, like everybody pretty much knows what they should be eating.
Should and shouldn't eat,
right.
Yes.
Shouldn't eat.
But somehow we're not necessarily, listening to that.
And implementing that. So the kitchen, and it's nobody's fault. Nobody ever told you or showed you how to set up your kitchen as this kind of like wellness biome. And when I started looking at my life, and there was all this extra stuff in my life that didn't serve me, the same was true in my kitchen. So you get married, you get the set, the cookware set, and you really only needed the stock pot and the frying pan, you know? And so you have all this extra stuff, and people have these kitchens. There's too much stuff on their counters. There's too much stuff in their cabinets. There's too much stuff in their pantries. There's expired stuff. There's expired stuff in all areas of our lives.
So you're like doing almost like a feng shui Marie Kondo kitchen, going through and seeing what you need, what you don't need, so that our focus can be on, like you said, simplifying. What do we need?
Exactly.
What's going to serve us?
Exactly. So getting it essential. You know, essentialism. So while Marie Kondo was organizing her crayons, you know, I was doing kitchen interventions and helping people strip it down. And it's incredible if you do this for yourself, if you give yourself a kitchen intervention and you take everything out of your cabinets and you're like, gosh, we moved this with us from the last place. Never used this. Gotta go.
What I'm hearing from you is you have a new relationship with food. Yes, you had this background, you did catering and all that, but now you have a really beautiful, holistic, conscious relationship with food, where most of us really have an unconscious relationship with food.
Correct.
We're not even thinking about what we put in our mouth. We just put it in, we run, and it's really impacting every area of our life.
And my little saying for that is, unconscious eating is the enemy of conscious health. And everything you put in and on your body matters. And creating an environment to support the life you want to live is powerful magic. And just like you can control what's on the end of your fork, you can pretty much control what's in your kitchen. So your kitchen is a microcosm of your bigger life. So how you set up your kitchen to serve you is kind of like how you can set up your life. You get rid of things that don't serve you, that you don't need, that are getting in the way of the things you do need.
You're setting yourself up in your kitchen for success.
Exactly.
So let's talk about another thing. We're not just putting food into our mouths. We're actually putting all kinds of thoughts into our minds. Let's talk about the mind-body connection, how important it is not just to detoxify our lifestyle, the food that we're eating, our bodies, but also our minds and our emotions.
And that's so much of what you do for women is you put this positive message out there, and we all need to be doing more positive self-talk. We can be our own, hype girls. Really, we can. I changed the code on my phone to HAPY.
Oh, cute.
All the little... Oh, now everybody can get onto my phone.
Change that one.
I'm going to change that again. Maybe LOVE. But all the little messages we give ourselves about ourselves, those matter.
It's all the little things start building up into a big thing, right? And they're not hard to do. Like, that's an easy thing to do. But every time you look at your phone, you have a positive message going in.
Those little affirmations.
Exactly. So today, at 60, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Don't wait. Start now. If you have a good idea, and you know it's a good idea, or even if it's just a passion for you, start now. Because what I've learned, and it's true with food, it's true with your thoughts, it's true with your actions, it's your little habitual behaviors. It's the things we do over and over again, the things we invest our time and energy in that cumulatively add up to these bigger things. And so we both jumped into social media at this
complete
ripe old age.
Fights, right, exactly.
I like to say I'm an immigrant to technology, not a native. And so we had to figure it out, like, how do you hashtag? What's this tagging people? My family was horrified. They're like, what are you doing?
It's very funny when you're first, I'm like, I could not grasp hashtag. It made no sense. I mean, just speak English, please.
Right.
It's all this new lingo. But look at us now.
Look at how that adds up. Look at how the commitment to putting yourself out there can grow into this bigger community and finding your tribe. And
so again, what I'm hearing from you is messages. Don't listen to messages outside in.
Right.
Create your own message. Create your own life. You don't have to, because someone says, oh, you didn't grow up with technology, you can't do it. So what?
Right.
Got it right here. I can do anything.
I'm smart. I can figure this out.
Yeah. I'm hearing fierce. What does fierce mean to you?
Well, that's the not holding yourself back. It's the this is limitless, not limited. The only thing that limits me is me.
So you've been on this journey of self-discovery. This is really a journey of self-discovery. Yeah. What has surprised you the most about yourself?
I think having come from a place where my world went from big to small, I think the most surprising thing is that I am open to so many things that I would have probably never even thought twice about, like 15 years ago. Like, I'm open to meeting new people in a way that because of the internet. I mean, this whole technology that we're in has changed everything, So I'm open to putting myself out there in a way that I would have never done before.
So spontaneity, opening yourself up to new
being
experiences.
Authentic. Being authentic with the bigger world, with the world of strangers who might find me on Instagram and be like, who's this Kristen Coffield? and that's I think that's a really hard thing to do. And I think you've probably found that too. That is hard to navigate.
Well, I think we have a lot in common I believe, from before. I was definitely the one, my daughter's an actress, I was the one behind the scenes. I was the one doing makeup or producing the shows or, hosting events like you, being the little perfect mom, but always behind the scenes. This is a whole new world and a whole new beginning and a whole new life. I feel like a rebirth. Midlife is a rebirth.
It's a great time.
Yeah, it is a great time.
So much fun. And I'm meeting people, and here we are connected through the world of Instagram and Facebook. Your Facebook group is amazing. I joined that a number of years ago when I was really looking for answers, because there's no playbook for midlife.
There is. Well, we're writing one. We're writing one, giving women a whole new playbook.
Right. But we're trying to figure it out. And I think when you're in a place where you feel very alone and very isolated and very in your head, that the internet has created an opportunity to find your connection and find your tribe. And that is how I found you.
Thank you. So we're talking about a tribe, and how important it is, and vulnerability. Like you were talking about, when we start retreating and we start feeling sort of weird on the inside, like there's something wrong with us. And then we start disconnecting and isolating, and that is the opposite of what we need to do, which is connect, find community, find connection, find support. Be vulnerable, allow yourself to open up and go, I'm feeling these things. Am I alone here?
And the tribe you've been with may no longer be able to support you. And I think for a lot of women, this is very difficult, because the journey you were on, and maybe all the people you raised your kids with, and your whole life was you had a whole social life, and all of a sudden you're on a different journey.
Well, you're a different person.
Right.
You are being, in a different new space. And so those people, like you talk about on your blog, I believe, or in one of your about sections, it's really important then to kind of clean house.
Right.
Is this additive, or is this, a negative in my life? Are these people supporting me and pushing me forward toward the life of my dreams, or are they holding me back? Which I think we have to be really real.
Or do they even understand where I am and what I'm going through?
And do they care about it?
Right.
They're supporting you?
Right.
Because you're oftentimes, I think you might have said this maybe before we even started the show, if you start changing and maybe having some success, you have some wonderful success, there are going to be some people looking at you like, wait a minute, I don't like that so much.
Right. It can create some situations that mean you have to curate your new tribe a little differently. You can keep those people because you love them, maybe, and you've got...
Keep them in a certain way.
But you have to, I'm always saying to my kids, and my daughters in particular, you have to always know who you're dealing with. Whether it's how you dress, you should always dress in a way that it pleases you, but also is for who you're going. Are you going to meet your boyfriend's parents? Are you going to a situation where it's important to dress appropriately? You almost need to appropriately dress your mind to deal with certain people, so that you know what their level of comfort is and how interested they are in supporting you on your journey. But the wonderful thing is you get to curate and expand your tribe and meet and connect with people like you, like your tribe. The Forever Fierce Revolution is filled with women who have a passion for life and an interest in seeing the world with new eyes.
Well, I think it's really important what you're sharing is being honest with yourself. And I think we know when relationships are either, propelling us forward or holding us back, but sometimes we're in that comfortable discomfort and we don't want to let go, even though it's really for our highest good to let go.
Right. And that's powerful stuff too. I mean, we're talking about a lot of powerful magic here, really. And it's the magic of taking back the control over how you live your life and what you want to do. And it's okay to go on your own path and have your next part of your journey and travel with different people.
And I think it's not only okay, I think we're meant to. Yeah. I think life would get really boring if we, started in kindergarten and we had the exact same tribe for the rest of our lives. It wouldn't force us to grow, and it actually wouldn't force the people we're surrounding ourselves to grow.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. That's so true. And what that sometimes becomes is a comfortable place.
Comfortable discomfort.
Right. And so when you're really comfortable, you're not really pushing yourself.
You
right.
can't grow. There's no possibility to be comfortable and to grow at the same time.
Yeah, we don't learn anything from the easy stuff. It's really that hard stuff.
It's so true. So let's talk about relationships. You brought your beautiful daughter in with you today.
I did.
your husband, I know you guys were going through a stressful period. You've opened up about that, a lot of financial stress. Clearly your kids went off to school. How have your relationships with your family members, with your friends, changed as you have changed?
I like to say, and this should be the title of a book, and maybe I will write this book, How to Repurpose Your Husband and Other Helpful Advice. And I'm not sure every husband can be repurposed, but the two of us have known each other since we were 16. And our journey together has been friends and lovers and partners and parents, and we were willing to do the hard work. And it was hard work, and it's work every day to have a great relationship with somebody that you're committed to, and it's not always easy work. It was, our marriage was really in trouble, and the rope was long, and then I got to the end of the rope, and there was no more rope, and I was forced to pivot and make some hard decisions, and we did a lot of therapy, and I think therapy can be
a godsend.
Yeah. It can help you get to, is this can we repurpose this?
Or not.
Or not.
Or is it time? Yeah. Either way, the more you find about yourself, you find out about your partner, you see whether or not you can grow together, or it's time to go apart.
And let me tell you, this was very tough on our family, because I had decided I had to go. I had to save myself. And it was very difficult for our kids and our family, and we went through some very dark days, and I'm glad we did the work we did. So now I like to say I'm on my second marriage, but it's with the first husband. We're looking at it like we're new to each other.
Which is really cool, and that's a great way to look at it. It's a rebirth for you, it's a rebirth for him, it's a rebirth for you two together, because you're coming into a whole new relationship.
And we've started a company together. So that's a whole nother thing. My husband's an attorney. He's a wonderful white-collar criminal defense attorney. I am this wellness authority, and we are building a platform of wellness programs for attorneys, because lawyers have a unique set of stresses and wellness needs. And we've already created our first CLE courses, continuing legal education courses, that are focused on the unique wellness needs for attorneys.
That's an interesting niche. That is a high stress job. I'm very familiar having.
And it's interesting working with your husband.
Yes, it definitely is. Working with anyone, pretty much, like you said, you work pretty much 7 days a week. When you have your own business, there is no disconnecting. So let's talk about vulnerability and letting our shield down. You're very vulnerable in what you write. You're very open about your stories, the difficult times, like you said, the dark times, those dark nights of the soul. What does vulnerability do for you?
Well, once you let it out, instead of keeping all that inside of you, it no longer kind of grabs you by the back of the brain and holds you prisoner.
Think about it. It's a lot of energy to hold that in.
It is.
And eventually, I believe, at least in my experience, the universe takes care of it at some point. You can only hold it together for so long. If you have a facade up, holding in things that you feel shameful about, or whatever those things are that make you feel less than, that you don't want to open up. I feel like the universe eventually takes care of it, and just those walls come tumbling down.
And by letting that vulnerability out and kind of owning it, kind of being like, hey, some bad stuff really did happen to me, but I'm
Look
okay.
at who I am today.
I'm okay. So I can share my story with you, and hopefully this will help other people see that you can take these things that hurt you and isolate you, and you can use them as stepping stones to get to the next place. They don't have to cripple you. They can actually propel you forward.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your jam, your favorite thing in the world to talk about, which is health and wellness.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a wonderful audience all around the world, women at midlife and beyond, many of them dealing with either, chronic health issues, menopause, weight gain, insomnia, all those things that happen. What are your greatest tips for particularly women at midlife and beyond?
So here is my favorite tip that I think every single person can do, and that's drink more water. Stay hydrated. Caffeine is dehydrating. When we are sleeping, our body is in a fast. So the first thing we need to do is rehydrate. So water is kind of this low-hanging fruit on the wellness, list of things you can be doing. And so here are my tips with water. Start every day with a room temperature or warm glass of lemon water. You can add MCT oil, you can add a pinch of cayenne pepper, you can add a pinch of pink Himalayan salt to make it, to add more essential elements. But the first thing you drink should be water. And then you need to measure how much water you drink. Because if you're not measuring, you're not drinking enough fluids. And we really need anywhere from 100 to 110 ounces of water a day. So I tell people, get a little glass jar, know how many ounces are in that, and every hour, make sure you drink your water. So preferably 8 to 10 ounces of water an hour.
That's pretty easy.
For 8 to 10 hours.
You can even set your little timer on your phone if you want to make sure.
Yeah. Because what happens is once you're fully hydrated, your body is all your organs rely on water to function. Your body is going to be detoxifying better. You're going to be eating more appropriately, because if you're even a little bit dehydrated, you have a chance of overeating. Your body doesn't know if it's hungry or thirsty. So if you're eating and you're dehydrated, you may be overeating to compensate, to try to hydrate. Because you can, of course, eat your water. So when you're eating leafy greens and fruits and vegetables, that does help.
They're more dense in water content. And we are, 95% water?
We are.
A very high percentage.
And here in California, it's very dry. So you really need that water. So water is one of my biggest tips. I think we talked a little bit about healthy fats. And so important for women.
And for our brain health as we get older.
Yep.
So what would you recommend for healthy fats?
Either MCT oil, which I know you love. It's
I
in
do.
our
It's right
wonderful.
Here.
I think you should post this recipe.
I plan to do a post on it. Yeah,
because this is delicious. This turmeric ginger tea with MCT oil. So MCT oil, extra virgin organic coconut oil, healthy fats from oily fish. Are very good as well. Avocados are wonderful. But fiber, fat, and protein are the trifecta, and leafy greens. But really those three you want to have in your first meal of the day. I have a great recipe for chia pudding on my website.
I saw it when you were on the show. I think you were on the
Good Morning
exactly,
Washington.
And I was like, oh, that's what I would have grabbed. It looks beautiful, and it's so amazing and so healing and so wonderful for our digestive tract.
Well, in chia seeds, you're getting fiber, fat, and protein.
Fatty acids right there.
So it's almost this perfect thing. So you can start your day with chia seed pudding and some warm lemon water.
But the nice thing with chia seeds too, once you soak them like that, they become mucilaginous.
Yes.
So it really helps your digestive tract as well.
Yeah, you're getting all that prebiotic fiber in there as well.
So let's talk about sugar and inflammation.
Sugar and salt are both linked to inflammation, and sugar in particular for women is so detrimental to our health. We eat so much more sugar than we should, and that's because it's in our food. It's in any processed food that you're getting. The worst might be things like juice drinks. Smoothies are fine, but you have to look at a smoothie as almost a meal. You're drinking your fruit instead of eating it in a smoothie or a juice.
I'll eat it over drinking it any day.
More benefits to you and fills you up more.
So read labels. Be aware of how much sugar's in there, how much hidden sneaky sugar's in there.
There's actually a download on my website, a sneaky sugar download, and it lists all I think it's 39 names for sugar. So sugar has many names and many forms, and what we really want to do is get those healthy fruit sugars, that glucose that is the fuel for every cell in our body. So that's why eating fruits and vegetables that contain natural sugars are so much more beneficial.
And they have fiber.
And
So
you're getting the
will,
fiber,
yes.
which tempers how
The
quickly
glucose
it's
enters.
absorbed into your blood.
Cause the blood sugar spikes.
Yeah.
So we were talking to, and I think before the show started, about how we really lose touch with like our taste buds over time. When we start piling sugar in our bodies, we're most likely going to go through a withdrawal. But once we clean out the sugar, we start going, oh, that actually tastes too sweet.
Right. And processed foods, artificial ingredients, chemicals, sugar, sodium, modified fats, they're all chemically engineered to be addictive. Sugar is actually addictive. It actually has an opiate-like effect on your brain.
More addictive than heroin is what they say.
So the more you eat sweet, the more you crave sweet. So you've got, and artificial sweeteners are equally bad.
I gave up those ages
And they
ago.
disrupt your gut biome.
Stevia.
Yeah. I kind of like a little maple syrup in my coffee if I must, but once you dial back the sugar, you crave less sugar, you also taste natural sugar more. And the same is true with salt. All these highly salt-enhanced foods skew our ability to taste natural flavors. So it tastes good while you're eating it, but it's actually messing up your ability.
As you shift your relationship to food, you become more conscious and you start looking at food in a different way, and you start becoming more connected to how it makes you feel and actually how it really tastes, not just shoving it. If we keep shoving food down our throats without even paying attention to tasting it, we may be causing these sugar cravings without realizing that, ooh, that's too sweet.
Well, and here's a couple of quick tips about eating. People have forgotten how to eat. And your grandmother would say, slow down, chew your food. Well, there's a reason for that. So digestion starts in your mouth with the chewing process, with the saliva that's created. So you're actually supposed to be chewing your food until it's falling apart.
Exactly.
So if you're chewing each bite of food 15 to 20 times, if you're not drinking liquids with your meals, because people very often wash down their food, again, now you're diluting those digestive enzymes. You're also washing down food before it's fully masticated. Now you've got to create more acid to break that food down. Hello, here comes acid reflux. And now you're going to take medication for that. So don't drink liquids with meals if you can help it. I'm not saying don't have a nice glass of wine if you're enjoying a beautiful meal, but you shouldn't be drinking lots of liquids while you're eating. Chew your food properly. Stop eating when you're 80% full. Because if you eat quickly, your body doesn't have time to register fullness.
You're full before you realize you're full.
Right. So now that you're chewing your food, you're slowing down that process. You're more likely to stop before you overeat.
And our gut health is really connected to our brain health.
And the gut sends so many more messages to the brain each day than the brain sends to the gut. So the gut's calling the shots. This is where we need to be really taking care of things.
And really paying attention and like listening to our gut, listening to our intuition.
Yeah, and people, what happens is, this mindless eating, we lose our sense of taste. We lose our understanding of what food is for. There's only two kinds of food, functional and celebratory. And functional food is the fuel we need to get through our busy weeks and have good sleep and manage our stress, have the energy we need. And celebratory food has its place too, because food is everything. Food is love. Food is celebration. Food is, shared with friends and community and family. But our celebratory food doesn't.
We can get carried away with too much
if you're eating
celebration.
Celebratory food 5 days a week and functional
We're not going to be so functional.
You're really missing the opportunity to use this tool that's available to you because you're eating every day. So this is the most powerful tool, I think, that you can use to start to change your life one bite at a time.
So we have a lot of women out there, I would imagine, many of them in a space where they want to feel better. They want to make some changes, but we all know what it feels like when you're at the other end of the spectrum. Right now, you're the picture of health, but when you are maybe overweight, you're not sleeping, you've got a chronic health condition, where do they start right now?
Yeah. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And I would say, and that's a famous quote from Arthur Ashe. I love him. He was a wonderful tennis player. I think when you think of, oh my gosh, I need to lose 20, 30 pounds, whatever it is, that's too much. We're not don't worry about that. Worry about how you feel. Put your health first. If you put your health first and you use food as your partner in this journey to live your best life, the other stuff falls into place. So like my journey, you start with just the simple act of eating and you make it more intentional and more nutritious. And there's lots of free information on my website for people. And then once you start to feel better and kind of get the hang of that, now you're drinking more water and you're understanding that you need to get restorative rest at night. So don't be up on your computer when you should be sleeping. Powerful, powerful metabolic processes happen between 11 and 2 a.m.
Between melatonin, our hormones, HGH, all of those things
and
are happening
human growth
at night.
hormone. Who doesn't want more of that stuff, you know? So you need to be asleep when that happens. So if you're on your computer nibbling at 11
all that
o'clock,
blue light going in and disrupting.
Right.
Yes.
So look at your habits. Look at the things you can control.
And be honest about your habits.
Be honest with yourself. Know what you can do better. But just start where you are and start to do better and build on that.
So tiny little changes.
Exactly. Because as we both know, it's the little things that we do over and over again that add up to our wellness destiny and our emotional wellness and having the body that we want and the relationships we want and the careers and the lives we want to have.
So go slowly, make little tiny changes, because each little change empowers us to know we can do another one, but don't heap so much on yourself at once, or you'll get overwhelmed, paralyzed, and you probably won't do anything.
And be consistent. And when you make a mistake and when you go off,
you're going to, probably.
Just go ahead. It's okay. Yeah. Just get back on and just keep working at it. And that's the power of this cumulative behavior. Anybody says, oh, get that 10,000 hours, right? That's that be Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes, exactly. Be the expert in blink.
You need 10,000 hours. So people who start early have an advantage over people who don't. Just start. That's the message. Just start. Don't talk yourself out of it. Just do it.
Well, this show is Mastering Modern Midlife, and that's something I talk about all the time. To be a master, a true master, they say it takes 10,000 hours. But that first hour starts right now. We don't have to look at the 10,000. We just have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
And we'll get there.
Exactly.
I think you've put in more than 10,000 hours.
It's so exciting. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much. This is such an opportunity, and I'm a super fan.
Oh, you're so cute. And right back at you. So we have many women out there now who I'm sure are going to want to follow you on social media, follow you on your blog, potentially work with you. Please let them know where to find you, what offerings. You have many offerings on your blog, and I know you have some free resources.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have lots of free resources, so that's the first place to go. Download my 9 Steps guide. It's really kind of everything we've talked about today, and it tells you just kind of how to start where you are. Sign up for my newsletter. I have a great newsletter. This is all at theculinarycure.com. And follow me on Instagram at Kristen Coffield.
There you go. You guys have some homework after this, some really fun homework. I love your blog. I'm a huge fan of, there's so many different areas of your blog. One, your blog, you talk about some real beautiful, vulnerable stories in there. You weave in health and wellness through everything. And then you have, at the top, you have some great resources. You have great supplements. You have, I think, an Amazon store in there.
I do. I have an Amazon store. I also have an online course that we are going to start in September. So if people want to actually do a kitchen intervention, you can sign up and we'll send you an email letting you know when the course registration opens. And I have 2 books coming out. So I have a little kitchen companion book, How Healthy People Eat, and it's just little tips and inspirations for each day. And then I have my my Culinary Cure, really my whole life guide that's going to be coming out in 2020.
You are a busy woman. Talk about 10,000 hours plus. So thank you so much for being here today.
Catherine, the honor is all mine.
Oh my gosh. Well, like I said, I'm a super fan of yours as well. I think what you were doing is an amazing thing. If we all looked and felt as well as you at 60, this world would be a different place.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for being with us. And thank you so much for being here today. And make sure to follow Kristen on social media, on her blog, theculinarycure.com. And if you want to take part in her program. Sure, your email is on there, but connect with her on social media, and you can do that as well and change your life. So thank you for being part of the Forever Fierce Revolution and mastering modern midlife together. Cheers, beauties. Stay fierce.